Welcome to Candid Africa, truthful and unapologetic.
There is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. And my last warning to you is that you all should stand firm behind us so that we can prove to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody. We are waking. We shall no more go back to sleep anymore. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. As I said in the assembly just minutes ago, I made a point that we are going to say that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle. But today, may I call upon you all that at this great day, let us all remember that nothing in the world can be done unless it has the purported support of God. We have done the battle, and we again rededicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate other territories in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. And here, I will ask the band to play the Ghana national anthem. Freedom! Freedom! Freedom!
Did you like or hate what you heard? Let us know in the comments below.
The people of the Gold Coast had had their own assembly under the British, but not independence. In 1957, they became the first black Africans to get complete freedom. Leaders from East and West came to Accra to see the handover. Vice President Nixon represented the United States. He arrived with a delegation that included civil rights leader Martin Luther King.
A new order is coming into being, and an old order is passing away. It seems to me that this is fit testimony to the fact that eventually the forces of justice triumph in the universe, and somehow the universe itself is on the side of freedom and justice.
The British were proud of the peaceful nature of the transfer.
For Dr. Nkrumah, main architect of Ghana's independence, this is a day of fulfillment. The longing to be free, the need to be free, these are part of the rightful heritage of man, a heritage denied to colonial Africa until now.
The Gold Coast was renamed Ghana, with a parliamentary system modelled on Westminster. Committing themselves to civil rights, the new government put up a huge commemorative arch.
Here, but a handful of years ago, men laid down their lives for a cause that was not yet won, for freedom, for justice.
Komla Bedema had been with Nkrumah from the start. Now he shared the glory.
and in the subdued light, we mounted the platform and were all ready when the lights all went on at 5 minutes to 12. With me standing on the right hand side of Nkrumah, everybody was happy. The cheering probably is still resounding, but we don't hear it.
At long last, the battle has ended. And thus, Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. From now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that, after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. I want you all, those who have hats on, to take off your hats and let the band play our national anthem. And from now on, that national anthem is the national anthem of the Gogo, to be played on all occasions.
The song of the night was called Freedom High Life, written by E.T. Mensah, the king of African high life music.
Ghana, land of freedom, toils of the brave and the sweat of the labor, toils of the brave which have brought results, toils of the brave and the sweat of the labor, toils of the brave which have brought results.
It's very great that day at the Independence Square. People are dancing, singing. They love the music and the song.
The song really symbolizes the saying of KWAME NKRUMAH, at long last, the battle is ended.
Because we have freedom. We have our freedom.
Ghana, we now have freedom. Ghana.
Already being hailed as the father of African nationalism, Nkrumah gave funds to other nationalist movements and preached the message across the continent.
This mid-20th century is Africa's. This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
Mr. Ivan Benediktov, Soviet Minister of State Farms. From Afghanistan and Iceland, India, China, Ceylon, Haiti, Holland, Argentine, Peru. Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent is here to represent Her Majesty the Queen. The longing to be free, the need to be free, part of the rightful heritage of man, a heritage denied to colonial Africa until now. A few hours earlier, the Duchess of Kent had flown into Accra. Governor Sir Charles Arden Clark and Prime Minister Dr. KWAME NKRUMAH were there to receive her. With her, the Duchess of Kent brings the Queen's mandate, which is to change the constitutional status of this country, and the Queen's Godspeed to this newest dominion of the British Commonwealth. For Dr. Nkrumah, main architect of Ghana's independence, this is a day of fulfillment. her gracious task is formally to untie, in the name of the Queen and the British people, the political bonds of colonial rule. It is a task that could be framed only by a great people conscious of its strength, willing to move with the times, jealous of its good name.
As she enters our capital city, chiefs and notables welcome her in the old ways. These have always been our custom. A traditional libation is poured that God should give his blessing.
Old coasters like me have seen a few libations in our time, but none as happy as this one.
So many handshakes and introductions, all the ceremonial occasions of a people whose care for dignity is deep and courteous.
We are a nation born with a mission. The point is so plain that nobody can miss it, and we rightly proclaim our acceptance of this assignment by planting in the middle of our national flag the lodestar of hope for all the black peoples of Africa. We are to demonstrate to our fellows, not with high words, but by the quality of our national life, that indeed it is a good and a necessary thing to be a free people. That in fact, God has given black Africans also, as he has given everybody else, the capacity to attain the full stature of man.
It's more than a hymn today. It's many things. It's a thanksgiving, a pledge for the future, a way of saying what you feel when the words won't come.
The blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost be upon you, upon our rulers and chiefs, and upon this nation, now and always. Amen.
Royal Durban, the chiefs and paramount chiefs and kings and rulers by tradition have also journeyed to greet Her Royal Highness. From the green hills of Ashanti and the far savannas of the north, from the forest land beyond the Volta River and the surf-rimmed blue Atlantic shore, they're here with their tribal dignitaries, with their crowns and coronets of beaten gold, their golden staffs of authority and judgment.
These are the insignia of an old tradition. Our land was not made yesterday. Our beginnings return into the mist of 1,000 years. The name we have chosen, Ghana, is the name of an African civilization that flourished and was famous for its wealth and civic order in centuries before the Normans crossed the English Channel, whose name was still alive upon the lips of men when Columbus found America.
And now the wheel of history comes full circle. After these centuries, after slavery, conquest, colonial rule, after trusteeship, partnership, anything but freedom, now at last the old independence is recovered. The chiefs assert once more their pride and dignity, glittering and potent symbols of the link between what is long since gone and what is now to come. the welcome of a nation determined to be modern, up to date.
Square bashing. Hear 'em blind and swear, just like everyone else. Never mind, they're all right. I've served with them. Burma and the Far East.
Africans aren't ripe for independence. That's what a lot of us thought. Well, it looks as though we were wrong.
Not ripe for independence. They said it, and they said it, and they said it. Boy, we got sort of tired of hearing that word. Sure, we'll make plenty of muddles and mistakes, but it's better to make your own mistakes than to suffer from the mistakes that others make for you.
Some say that the African soul, the gladness, the sadness, dignity, and deep delight, the human thing, all of this speaks through their dance.
Red, gold, green, the colors of the Ghana flag. That's red for the self-sacrifice, the lives that were the cost of Ghana's freedom. And gold for its mines, and green for its tall and brilliant forests.
These are the colors that make a background to the Black Star of Ghana, the lodestar of African freedom.
After the parades, the fun. This is the day for the finals, all the finals. Canoe races, running races, bicycle races, competitions up and down the length and breadth of the land. Dancing competitions, hair plaiting competitions, singing, talking, any kind of competition. These are all fishermen. They spend their lives in paddling out the cocoa that Ghana grows and delivering it to ocean steamers.
Now, don't get it wrong, please. They have to run through the surf here in Accra, but we've modern harbors too. Takoradi, for instance.
Win or lose, who cares today? Somewhere or other, everyone's a winner this afternoon.
How fast can a horse run when the weather's as warm as this? Depends on your luck, they say.
Horses and handsome women, they seem to go together no matter where you are. I'll tell you a story about it if I had the time.
I've heard it said that Ghana has the prettiest girls in all of Africa. Well, Africa is big. Still, I wouldn't be surprised.
A guest of the Prime Minister picks a winner. Cheers for Miss Ghana, winner in the nationwide contest for Ghana's loveliest girl.
Now, what do they think about these gorgeous creatures? What do they say?
My name is Monica Anukwafia, and I'm very glad to be the most beautiful girl in Ghana.
Good luck, Monica. Fortnight's trip to England, that's her prize.
ever see the like of that? That makes rock and roll look like it had long gray whiskers. That's steel band, all right. That's right out of Yesterday Night.
You can get just about everything there is into a high life. The things a woman says to you, the things she doesn't. Trouble with the boss, trouble with yourself, trouble you can laugh at so it isn't trouble anymore. And good things, too, like falling in love. Or not falling in love.
Like happiness. Yes, like independence.
We will be jolly, merry and gay, the 6th of March, Independence Day.
That night, a state banquet at Ghana's new luxury hotel, the Ambassador in Accra. For Sir Charles Arden Clark, Governor of the Gold Coast, and now to be the first Governor-General of Ghana, this is the climax of a long and notable career. During his distinguished governorship, Ghana becomes the first of Africa's colonies to win full independence.
Responding to the invitation.
He proposes the toast of honor.
Mr. Prime Minister, Your Excellencies, my lords, non-unarmed ladies and gentlemen, I give you the toast of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Kent.
Happy at the time when an imperial people knows how to withdraw without bloodshed, without too much delay.
I count it a privilege to have been asked by the Queen to take her part in a moment of such significance in the long and colorful history not only of Ghana, but of the African continent as a whole. I offer my warmest good wishes for the future happiness of Ghana. May God bless and guide your endeavors.
The Prime Minister replies, his words make history. Never before has any colony heard such words. With them, the subjection of Africa begins to end. They speak the independent future of his own country. They foretell the independent future of a continent.
To celebrate with us our independence. It will be the policy of the government of Ghana to develop the closest possible contacts with all other parts of the world.
Rich in many things, in cocoa, in mines of diamonds and gold, in tall forests. But rich in faith and confidence as well, Ghana builds for the future. Schools, clinics, hospitals, factories, roads, harbors, power stations. A memorial to comradeship and friendship, to battles fought side by side, and won.
I can remember the old days, the bush and what it meant. Being carried in a hammock, having baths in portable contraptions, you've no idea how darned uncomfortable. The fever, yes, and the way we dealt with it. Quinine and whiskey. Mind you, all that stopped us from settling here. That's why, you know, this country isn't like Kenya.
And now, it never will be like Kenya.
Courts of law, museums, libraries, hotels, modern housing, seats of learning. All the fabric and the apparatus of a modern state.
University College of the Gold Coast, now of Ghana, of course. It was founded a handful of years ago as an academic daughter of London University, an enduring and valuable connection. Hundreds of young men and women have passed through our hands. On the quality of scholarship and teaching here, much of the future of this country will depend. We like to think that we are the keystone of that future.
But freedom was not given. Men had to win it, struggle for it. Those who fell are not forgotten.
I now have the great pleasure to unveil this national monument.
Out of the darkness, the pledge and the promise. Here but a handful of years ago, men laid down their lives for a cause that was not yet won, for freedom, for justice.
Too long up there, making us other people's property. But behind that flag, fine, sincere people, devoted to this country's good. There is friendship and affection between us.
Midnight, March the 6th, 1957. Independence. Ghana belongs to herself, a dominion of the Commonwealth and a member of the United Nations.
Bang up there into the glossy African night, the lights of a new time. And people watching, thousands of people. Fishermen too, out across the bay in their canoes, strings of canoes watching on the water, the starlight and the firelight in their eyes.
I wonder how soon it will be that Africa has another show like this, meaning what this means.
A spark, I've heard, can start a forest fire.
Early next morning, Her Royal Highness drives in state to the Parliament of Ghana, there to make known the Queen's gracious message. It is 69 years since the first African unofficial member was nominated to the old Legislative Council of the Gold Coast colony. It is 6 years since the first properly democratic elections were permitted. Yesterday, this Parliament was subject to the Parliament of Britain. Today, its members owe loyalty only to the people of Ghana. Thus end, with dignity and honor, 100 years of colonial occupation and colonial rule.
In collaboration with my government,
With fitting ceremony, the Duchess of Kent reads to the representatives of Ghana in Parliament assembled the Queen's message of freedom. She tells them of the Queen's pride that today a new member of the Commonwealth is born. She gives them the Queen's congratulations and the Queen's best wishes.
I have it in command from the Queen to read to you the following message from Her Majesty to her people in Ghana. I have entrusted to my aunt the duty of opening on my behalf the first session of the Parliament of Ghana. My thoughts are with you on this great day as you take up the full responsibilities of independent nationhood. It is my earnest and confident belief that my people in Ghana will go forward in freedom and justice, in unity among themselves, and in brotherhood with all the peoples of the Commonwealth. God bless you all. Elizabeth R.
The Prime Minister goes to the throne and receives the Queen's message. From now onward, these will be the proceedings of a sovereign Parliament. Waiting outside to see her, many thousands of people cheer Her Royal Highness. Great change is made, peacefully, in good friendship, in a manner befitting the will of the people of Ghana and the will of the people of Britain.
I suppose we could have hung on, of course. We could have grit our teeth and called in the troops and somehow muddled through. shot our way through. That's what it would have meant. Bad for other people, though, and bad for us. Out of date, greedy, stupid.
Stupid, yes. Stupid even more than greedy. I come from India. I remember how we felt about the British before they decided to leave India. And I know how we Indians feel about them now. We used to dislike the British. We don't now. Triumph for his cause, for those who believed in that cause, who followed him. Yes, it looks easy now, but it was not easy. He tramped the streets for work. He took what jobs he could get. He scrubbed floors, he wiped dishes, moved hunks of carcass in a soap factory.
He slept under the stars, under the cold stars of foreign cities. He knew hunger. He never gave up, and many befriended him. He wanted freedom.
The cynical and the powerful laughed at him, flung names at him, veranda boy, subversive, agitator. But the people wanted freedom. They followed him. To the people he said the simple things: decency, hard work, self-respect, self-government, self-government now. Of the imperial government he asked the simple things: not gifts, not charity, but rights, the rights of man. The government put him in prison. They tried to forget him. They failed. Herbert Macaulay, Casely Hayford, Hutton Mills, Aggrey, Mensa Saba, the great names of West African rebirth are joined by another, KWAME Nkrumah.
Wasn't always right, isn't always right, won't always be right. But he was right then, and he's right now. That's why people follow him.
And what next? The story of free Africa is only now beginning. At the State House that night, the first dance of Her Royal Highness is for her host, the Prime Minister.
Dancing together. In South Africa, that's pretty near crime. In Central Africa, the other day, they whipped an African for eating in a European hotel.
That means we're glad you came. Please come again.
Warmly remembered, warmly thanked, Her Royal Highness returns to London. Her visit on this great occasion has confirmed once more the warmth of friendship which will continue to unite Ghana with Great Britain.
So once you get dancing, you tend to go on. We went on all night. That night and the next. Can't remember how long.
At the Hotel Ambassador.
Some danced this way.
And some danced another way, their own way.
They danced everywhere, in village clearings, in market squares, in the streets.
The rockabilly boogie, shake and do the rhythm of the rockabilly boogie, jump and do the rhythm of the rockabilly boogie, shimmy to the rhythm of the rockabilly.
Even our European club, that dear old department of the stiff upper lip, had a tiny little dance of its own. The notice said, dress, of course, will be strictly formal, as usual. As usual. I like that bit. Didn't include this number, I'm afraid.
Jolly, merry and gay, the 6th of March, Independence Day. The doctor began as agitator, then he became popular leader. He continued to go further, and now he is Ghana's Prime Minister. Ghana, Ghana is the name. Ghana, we wish to proclaim, we will be jolly, merry and gay, the 6th of March, Independence Day.
KWAME Nkrumah tells the people they're a free nation. Another nation in the world added to so many. Does that help? Remember this: Until the peoples are nations, they will not be recognized. And until the nations are free, they will not have peace. That is why the people shout for freedom.
My friend, I'm telling you, I won't forget it. It wasn't because of that one man. It was just all of us happy.
At long last, the battle has ended. And thus, Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
Africa wakes up. The sleepy giant stirs. Egypt, Ethiopia, Liberia, Libya, Morocco, Tunisia, Sudan, Ghana. These govern themselves. Others will follow. Not in hatred, not in fear, but to raise mankind to its feet. All mankind.
From now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. We are going to see that we create our own African personality and identity. And we again rededicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate other territories in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. I want you all, those who have hats on, to take off your hats and let the band play our national anthem. And from now on, that national anthem is the national anthem of the Go-Go to be played on all occasions.
The lost islands of African humanity begin now to be joined to the main. The barriers go down. The world grows up. For humanity is one, indivisible. That is the strength we have to make a better world. The black and the brown, the white and the yellow, we are members one of another.
Freedom! 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 May God bless you.
Courage, freedom. These are Ghana's words for you, wherever you are, whoever you are. That we, humanity, have nothing to fear but our own denial of freedom. So let us go forward together, for humanity is one. Humanity is indivisible. Indivisible.
coast Taiwan. Yeah, you walk wide.
Ago, when you come, Madamaka Kakra, and when you come and went to Yam Kakra, Menkasapi. Damaparamaka there. Bakan Papa Kakra and Yamakan Fancy. At long last, the battle has ended. And thus, Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. And yet again, I want to take the opportunity to thank the chiefs and people of this country, the youth, the farmers, the women, who have so nobly fought and won this battle. Also, I want to thank the valiant ex-servicemen who have so cooperated with me in this mighty task of freeing our country from foreign rule and imperialism. And as I pointed out at our party conference at Sorbonne, I made it quite clear that from now on today, we must change our attitudes, our minds. We must realize that from now on, we are no more a colonial, but a free and independent people. But also, as I pointed out, that also entails hard work. I am depending upon the millions of the country, the chiefs and people, to help me to reshape the destiny of this country. We are prepared to build it up and make it a nation that will be respected by every other nation in the world. We know we are going to have difficult beginnings, but again, I'm relying upon your support. I'm relying upon your hard work. Seeing you in these thousands, it doesn't matter how far my eye goes, I can see that you are here in your millions. And my last warning to you is that you also stand firm behind us so that we can prove to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody. We shall no more go back to sleep anymore. Today, from now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. As I said in the assembly just minutes ago, I made it point that we are going to see that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle. But today, may I call upon you all that at this great day, let us all remember that nothing in the world can be done unless it has the purported support of God. We have done the battle. And we again rededicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate other territories in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. Let us now, fellow Ghanaians, let us now ask for God's blessing. And for only 2 seconds, in your thousands and millions, I want to ask you to pause only for 1 minute and give thanks to Almighty God for having led us through obstacles, difficulties, imprisonments, hardship and suffering to have brought us to the end of our trouble today. 1 minute silence. Ghana is free forever. And here I will ask the band to play the Ghana national anthem. Freedom! Freedom!
Proud of KWAME NKRUMAH. We are the king of Africa, Lord God of mercy. This one is a special dedication to ones and ones who hail KWAME NKRUMAH. Lord God of mercy. It's a
Why did you live so soon? I am miss you so. When we ever see you again, KWAME NKRUMAH, boy. Why did you live so soon? I miss you so. When we ever see you again, KWAME NKRUMAH, boy. Why did you live so soon? I miss you so. When we ever see you again, KWAME NKRUMAH, boy. Why did you live so soon? I miss you so. When we ever see you again.
Alright. The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked up with the total liberation of the whole African continent. You voiced it as thunderous as thunder and made your mark as the black president. Born some 100 years ago inside in Crown Folder, you taught us not to fool or carry water in a basket. You walked in the belly of the beast till your shoe sole dropped off, but you still hit the deadly nail into the slave master's casket. Oh, Sergeant, KWAME NKRUMAH, you shouted, self-government now, when the rest of them still slumbered in the cauldron of procrastination. Yet, imperialism, nepotism, pluralism, and nyafu dideism were never part of you as a man. Black like jerks, Osagifo, Breu. No doubt that we prepare self-government with danger to servitude in tranquility. As a little child, born to Nyaniba and Kofi Ngoloma, and attending school in Hapasini, you were full of ability. Materialism you hated like a cankerworm, as honesty soon made you a celebrity. At Kulungugu, the bombs flew around the head, perpetrated by the enemies of serenity. Oh, Jah bless, let no one curse. The saying goes with no element of inferiority. Ghana would one day queue to buy common stock. You said it, when your government was toppled by some cacophonous drunk soldier man with no dignity.
Why did you live so soon? I miss you so. When we ever see you again, Kwame Nkrumah boy. Why did you live so soon? I miss you so. When we ever see you again.
Oh yeah, Granny Kwame Nkrumah, you're the great man from Africa. Come liberate my brother from mental slavery, yeah. Oh yeah, Granny Kwame Nkrumah, you're the great man from Africa. Come liberate my brother from mental slavery. Say me can deny your inspiration for the black nation. No need to fight, we should unite for the future generation. Oh yeah, Kwame Nkrumah, oh 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 Kwame, oh yeah,
Nkrumah, do re mi fa sol la ti do. Musical soul first echo from the hearts of the rumblers man. A musical leader whose love for black dignity would always be true and remain like the footsteps in the sand. Wake up the spirit of Africa and uphold the name of a great son of the land. Nkrumah, you love Africa so much so that you never looted any booty from the motherland. Hail Nkrumah, Osajepo, Nkrumah. Hail the king, direct descendant of the Nzimala. It is time to pacify the spirits of Nkrumah.
Admiral protected by the most Taiwan. Yeah, you open wide when I see walk up in at the 4-5. Don't move, I must look at tonight. I hear night in a dance tonight. Want you all the time, but you said the dumb, you still try. Just like that, you come give up your life. In a dance you die, in a dance tonight. If I see join the line, die like every song boy we try for this. African stand up shot never miss. Brrrr, all the place. Hey, Admiral is not afraid. No, Admiral is not afraid. No, Jacida is not afraid. If them a come, let them come. African star protected by the most Taiwan. Hey, yeah. Don't be foolish. Oh no. Hey, African star not playing a loose game. I see them boom shot.
The history of Ghana in 10 minutes. Welcome to Explore and thanks for watching. As you all know, it is always a pleasure presenting to you the beautiful countries of Africa. In today's video, we are looking at the history of Ghana in 10 minutes. The Republic of Ghana is named after the medieval West African Ghana Empire. The empire became known in Europe and Arabia as the Ghana Empire after the title of its emperor, the Ghana. The empire appears to have broken up following the 1076 conquest by the Almoravid general Abu Bakr ibn Umar. A reduced kingdom continued to exist after Almoravid rule ended, and the kingdom was later incorporated into the subsequent Sahelian empires, such as the Mali Empire, several centuries later. Geographically, the ancient Ghana Empire was approximately 800 kilometers north and west of the modern state of Ghana, and controlled territories in the area of the Senegal River and east towards the Niger rivers in modern Senegal, Mauritania, and Mali. Ghana is today known as the Gold Coast of Africa, and the history of this great African nation is an important part of its present and future. Hence, without much ado, here is the history of Ghana in 10 minutes. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our uploads. Little is known of the small African kingdoms in the region between the Tano and Volta rivers until the arrival of Europeans in the 15th century. Portuguese navigators walking their way down the West African coast reached this area in 1471 and built a fortress at Elmina in 1482. But others follow fast. As early as 1492, a French buccaneer marauding off the coast deprives a Portuguese ship of its precious cargo. That cargo was gold, and the Gold Coast becomes the European name for this part of Africa. The trade in gold with the Europeans makes possible the development in the early 17th century of Akwamo, the first African state to control an extensive part of the coast. During the 18th century, the dominance of Akwamo is replaced by that of a much powerful group, the Ashanti, with their capital inland at Kumasi. By this time, the British, Dutch, and Danes are the main European traders of this part of the coast, and the most valuable commodity for export was not gold but slaves. Trading slaves for muskets, among other Western commodities, the Ashanti acquired great local power. Their king, the Asantehene, enthroned on a traditional golden stool, held sway over the entire central region of modern Ghana. But the Ashanti suffered a series of major blows between 1804 and 1814, when the Danes, British, and Dutch each in turn outlawed the slave trade. The resulting tension leads to warfare in the 1820s with the defeat of a British force in 1824 and again in the 1870s. In 1874, a British army briefly occupies Kumasi. Meanwhile, in the coastal regions, the British are gradually emerging as the main European power. The Danish fortresses, including the impressive Christiansborg Castle in Accra, are bought by the British government in 1850. The last Dutch merchants abandoned the coast in 1870. And in 1874, the southern regions are formally proclaimed a British colony under the name Gold Coast. But it takes another 3 decades before the Ashanti Kingdom and its dependencies in the north are finally brought under British control. In 1901, taking effect from the 1st of January 1902, Ashanti is declared a British Crown colony. The regions further north become at the same time the protectorate of the Northern Territories of the Gold Coast. The colonial years are relatively prosperous and untroubled. At first, little is done to involve the African population in the political processes of the colony. But in the years immediately after World War II, events move so fast that the Gold Coast becomes the first colony in sub-Saharan Africa to win its independence. The turning point is the return home in 1947 of KWAME Nkrumah after 12 years of study and radical politics in the USA and Britain. Nkrumah is invited back to the Gold Coast to become General Secretary of the United Gold Coast Convention, an organization campaigning for self-government. The UGCC has won the right in 1946 for an African majority in the colony's legislative assembly, but the fight is now on for a share in executive power. Nkrumah rapidly extends the movement's popular base, with the result that there are widespread riots in February 1948. The older UGCC leaders are alarmed by this and by their brief arrest with Nkrumah. A split within the movement leads to Nkrumah founding in June 1949 the Convention People's Party, committed to immediate self-government. From January 1950, Nkrumah organizes a campaign of non-violent protests and strikes, which lands him back in jail. But in the colony's first general election in February 1951, the CPP wins convincingly even in the absence of its leader. Nkrumah is released from prison to join the government, and in 1952 he becomes Prime Minister. During the years of preparation for independence, the neighboring British Togo votes in the 1956 plebiscite to merge with the Gold Coast. It is therefore a slightly extended territory which becomes independent in 1957 under Nkrumah's leadership. A new name of great resonance in African history is adopted, Ghana, although the ancient kingdom of that name was far to the north in present-day Mali. Nkrumah, well aware of his status at the head of the first West African nation to emerge from colonialism, dreams of leading the continent into a Marxist future. This requires a republic, which Ghana became in 1960 with Nkrumah as president for life. It also needs only one political party, the CPP. However, Nkrumah's authoritarian rule combined with a collapse in the nation's economy prompts a coup when the president is away in China in 1966 and he goes into exile in Guinea. It is the first of several such coups in Ghana's short history, but the nation remains true to the hope of democracy. In 4 decades, Ghana establishes as many new republics. A general election launching the Second Republic in 1969 brings to power Kofi Busia, a university professor with a long track record in Ghanaian politics as an opponent of Nkrumah. But he is unable to improve Ghana's economic performances, which had been weakened by low cocoa prices, and thus he is removed by military officers in 1972. For a few years from 1972, a military regime rules with repressive brutality under the successive leadership of 2 generals, Ignatius Champong and Frederick Akufo. But by the year 1979, a group of younger officers have had enough. Led by Jerry Rawlings, a flight lieutenant in the Air Force, they take power and Champong and Akufo are executed while arrangements are put in place for speedy elections. Under international and domestic pressure for a return to democracy, the PNDC allowed the establishment of a 258-member consultative assembly made up of members representing geographic districts as well as established civic or business organizations. The assembly was charged to draw up a draft constitution to establish a 4th republic using PNDC proposals. The PNDC accepted the final product without revision and it was put to a national referendum on 28 April 1992. In which it received 92% approval. On the 18th of May 1992, the ban on party politics was lifted in preparation for multi-party elections. The PNDC and its supporters formed a new party, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, to contest the elections. Presidential elections were held on 3rd November and parliamentary elections on 29th December that year. Members of the opposition boycotted the parliamentary elections, however, which resulted in a 200-seat parliament with only 17 opposition party members and 2 independents. The constitution entered into force on 7 January 1993 to found the 4th Republic. On that day, Rawlings was inaugurated as president and members of the parliament swore their oaths of office. In 1996, the opposition fully contested the presidential and parliamentary elections, which were described as peaceful, free and transparent by domestic and international observers. Rawlings was re-elected with 57% of the popular vote. In addition, Rawlings' NDC party won 133 of the parliament's 200 seats, just 1 seat short of the 2/3 majority needed to amend the constitution, although the election returns of 2 parliamentary seats faced legal challenges. The Third Republic in 1979 lasts only 2 years before Rawlings and his fellow officers intervene again. After his second coup, Rawlings takes personal power, ruling through a provisional National Defense Council, which has a specific brief to organize a renewal of the nation's political and economic life, down to village level. Rawlings proves an efficient leader, winning international support for his economic policies, and the 1990s demonstrates that he has popular approval as well. In the prevailing fashion for multi-party democracy, Ghana holds elections in 1992 in preparation for its 4th Republic. Rawlings transforms his ruling council into a political party, the National Democratic Congress (NDC). The NDC wins nearly all seats in parliament and Rawlings is elected president, but only 29% of the electorate vote and most of the opposition parties boycott the election. Hence, the 1992 results can hardly be taken as a popular mandate. However, elections in 1996 at the end of the 4-year term are altogether more significant. There are other presidential candidates, at least one of them enjoying wide support. Yet Rawlings astonishes observers by winning 57% of the vote to his nearest rival's 40%, and the NDC retains its absolute majority in parliament. After 2 terms as an elected president, Rawlings stands down for the presidential election of December 2000. It is won by the opposition leader, John Kufuor. In the presidential election of 2000, Jerry Rawlings endorsed his vice president, John Atta Mills, as a candidate for the ruling NDC. John Kufuor stood for the New Patriotic Party (NPP), won the election and became the president on 7th January 2001. The vice president was Aliu Mahama. The presidential election of 2000 was viewed as free and fair. Kufuor won another term again in the presidential election in 2004. The presidency of Kufuor saw several social reforms, such as the reform in the system of national health insurance of Ghana in 2003. In 2005, saw the start of the Ghana School Feeding Program, in which a free hot meal per day was provided in public schools and kindergartens in the poorest areas. Although some projects were criticized as unfinished or unfunded, the progress of Ghana was noted internationally. President Kufuor soon gave up power in 2008. The ruling New Patriotic Party chose Nana Akufo-Addo, son of Edward Akufo-Addo, as their candidate, while National Democratic Congress's John Atta Mills stood for the third time. After a runoff, John Atta Mills won the election. On 24th July 2012, Ghana suffered a shocking blow when their president died. Power was then given to his vice president, John Dramani Mahama. He chose the then governor of the Bank of Ghana, Kwesi Amisa-Athu, as his vice. The National Democratic Congress won the 2012 election, making John Mahama rule again, his first term. John Atta Mills was sworn in as president on 7th January 2009 in a peaceful transition after Kufuor was narrowly defeated. The Gold Coast is currently ruled by Nana Akufo-Addo, who is leading the beautiful African giants to new heights. There you have it, explorers. That was the history of Ghana in 10 minutes. Thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy this video, do well to give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe and share with your friends.
This is Movie Turn. Leslie Mitchell reporting. In 1957, the Gold Coast became Ghana, an independent state within the Commonwealth. Its Prime Minister was KWAME Nkrumah, seen here 6 years earlier following his release from a prison sentence for sedition. His Convention People's Party had won the elections and he was released so that he could lead the new government. From prison to power, power which he's held for 15 years. But since the independence celebrations of 1957 and his election as the first president 3 years later, Nkrumah has been severely criticized as a despot, a virtual dictator. The man who came from prison to wield such autocratic power has maintained it by imprisoning those who opposed him. In 1961, the Queen visited Ghana. Nkrumah's power politics were beginning to cause embarrassment to Britain, but he did seem genuinely concerned to build up the prestige of Ghana while remaining uncommitted to any of the main power blocs. His policy at home was modernize and industrialize, the Volta River scheme to produce power and the proposed new port of Tema. But all the high hopes of economic growth were soon to crumble into chaos. Nkrumah was the first African leader to attend a Commonwealth meeting and the second after Nyerere of Tanzania to break off relations with Britain over the Rhodesian question. During his reign of power, he was idolized by his fanatical supporters as Nkrumah the Redeemer, Nkrumah who never dies. But a leader who maintains his power by ruthlessness always runs the risk of being equally ruthlessly deposed.
This is Portrait of a Nation.
When the first Europeans arrived, getting to the end of the 15th century, they found so much gold. That is why it was named the Gold Coast. It was also the time of the discoveries, the great explorations. So as the Gold Coast was discovered, then you got to the Americas were also discovered. They wanted to have plantations grow cotton, grow tobacco, grow sugar cane, and they discovered that the Africans they came to meet were very strong. So the Gold Coast became more or less like a slave coast.
Ancient forts recall the latter centuries, an era of traders from Europe, a time of gold and slavery, a time of darkness.
Emilia Castle was built in 1482 by the Portuguese to protect what they had discovered. It was the first fortification that was built for the trade. So along the coast were dotted quite a number of these fortifications where slaves were kept and shipped off to the Americas.
One second past midnight, March the 6th, 1957. The moment has come. Here in West Africa, a nation is born. Ghana is free.
Ghana was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to gain independence, and it was great news for Ghana and the rest of Africa. Fortunately, we had a leader, KWAME NKRUMAH, who had experienced a bit of racism in the Americas, who had lived in Britain before, and so who was quite passionate about the rights of Ghanaians to take care of themselves. He said, we prefer independence with danger than servitude in tranquility.
Story. Once upon a time, like a tale out of the Arabian Night, there emerged a twinkle, twinkle black star from the rugged terrain of the then Gold Coast. His name was Francis New Year Kofi Ngoyoma KWAME NKRUMAH. His thoughts and vision were that of a united Africa, which later translated into Pan-Africanism.
Our independence is meaningless unless it lifts up the total reflection of the African continent.
While Nkrumah went down the book of history as leader of the first independent sub-Saharan African nation, his accomplishment as a firebrand in the liberation of the continent earned him admirers across the continent. A 25-year-old Fatia Helen Riggs, an Arabic student at the Cairo University, also read and liked Nkrumah's autobiography. She admired his trials and tribulations. In fact, his struggles during student days in America swept her off her feet. So, when Fatia eventually met Nkrumah in person in Cairo, she could not but say yes, yes, and yes to him in everything, including marriage proposal.
Mother was a young woman from a different culture. She left her family to come and her home base to come and live here. So I think it was a challenging marriage in a sense, but I remember her saying she would do it all over again.
On 31st of December 1957, Kwame decided to quit the Bachelor's Club while serving as Prime Minister. Ghanaian women were infuriated and could not just understand why their leader could overlook all the Ghanaian beautiful girls and ask for a bride who could not speak English from Egypt, while he also did not speak Arabic.
The then Egyptian leader Gamal Abdel Nasser called Fatia and asked her whether she truly loved and wanted to marry his fellow comrade, KWAME NKRUMAH. She convinced him beyond any reasonable doubt that she has found a life partner in Kwame. So, Gamal Abdel Nasser blessed the union. Not only that, he was also said to have given her some jewelry from the traditional Egyptian royal family and jokingly call her bride of the Nile, that is getting married to a rebel.
From her own side, Fatia's mother was reluctant to bless the union and frowned at the idea of a daughter marrying a foreigner. As such, Her uncle was the only relative that accompanied her to Ghana to meet the groom. Few hours after she landed in Ghana, Fathia got married in a surprise ceremony at the government house, attended by the groom's mother and a few government ministers. This shocked the beautiful young Coptic woman, who expected at least a priest to bless the ceremony, if not a set wedding. Within months, Fathia learned English language enough to engage in banters with the market women, who began to like her because of her unassuming disposition. In appreciation of her charm and her affiliation with women of the country, a special kente cloth was designed and named Fathia Fata Nkrumah, which means Fathia deserves Nkrumah. Before his overthrow on the 21st of February 1966, KWAME had 3 children with Fathia. Gamal, named after the Egyptian president, Samia, and Seko, also named after the former Guinean leader, Seko Toure, where Nkrumah went on exile. Nkrumah drew his last breath in April 1972 in Romania after surviving several assassination attempts, while Fathia died on the 31st of May 2007 due to stroke in Cairo. Her remains were, however, flown to Ghana for a funeral at the State House, and following her lifelong request, she was buried next to her husband at the KWAME Nkrumah Memorial Park. While observers say this is just another love story, another school of thought believes that KWAME's marriage to an Egyptian was one of his symbolic way of spreading Pan-Africanism between Arab North and Black Africa. From Cairo, Egypt, Oziri Zayan, NTA News.